Please be seated. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to chapel. As someone who's sat through hundreds, probably thousands of chapels over the years, it's something that I've grown to really appreciate and really love. And I hope that in due course it's something that you can find a really meaningful experience for yourselves as well. One of those pieces that I've grown to love, I must admit I didn't necessarily initially, but it's that singing element and the singing together and doing things together and listening to messages together and sometimes contemplating and reflecting on them afterwards. So without further ado, we're going to have a crack at some singing today, and you all should have hopefully a hymnal, and we are going to start with hymn number 20, Thanks for a Day. Please stand.
Good morning, everyone. You'll excuse me for taking off my mask, but there are lots of people that would like the idea of muzzling me because I talk too much, but I find that difficult when I'm talking to a whole room, so you'll excuse me. So, welcome to our first chapel in this very special building. So this morning's focus for me is on chapel, and I'm going to start on the building itself. And as I said the other day, I was reading through Miss Denny's old registers from 1933, when she was really looking forward to the chapel being built, and talking about the process and everything else. And then, when it was officially opened on June the 9th, 1934, that's a long time ago, right? That's 1 year before I was born. Thank you. That was true. You'll get used to that sense of humor eventually. But she was so excited, as I'll talk about a little later on, about this lovely little building and how it turned out to be what she had dreamt it would be. And it's a heritage building, as you know. So we have something very special here, and I want to talk about how we use it this morning. The first thing I want to talk about is what it is not. And chapel is not divisive. It doesn't divide people into groups, into types, into beliefs. It is all-inclusive. That's how we're setting about, and that's how we'll continue. Everybody should feel comfortable, safe, and completely unthreatened in chapel. But it has to be authentic. It has to be real. It has to have real people talking about real things. And that's, to me, that's extremely important too. So that they'll have authenticity, I guarantee you. You won't always be having to listen to me talking. As I said before, I like talking, but I'll spare you that. And hopefully we'll get some student contributions up here too, as well as some other staff contributions. Because essentially, it's a place of learning, right? This is another place of learning in a place of learning, which is what the school is, obviously. So here we get a chance to have a different type of learning. We get a chance to sort of underscore the common values that we subscribe to and that we promote as a community and as a school. It's also, though, a place of feeling. And as we get more confident and better in our singing, I think we should have just stopped at the more confident. It's not about getting better, it's just about getting more confident. As that happens, we'll get that communal feeling that is really quite powerful for those of you who've experienced it. And it doesn't really matter what you're singing, as long as you're singing it together and well. And Ms. Hanson will be delighted when that singing happens with gusto. It is, though, a key part of building community, and right from the first day I stepped on this campus, I've heard the word community. It's one of the first things that people go to when you ask them to explain what's QMS all about. Well, strong sense of community. So this, to me, is a key part of building that community. And in doing so, it will create that strong sense of belonging that we all want in our school. A place where people feel as if they belong and they feel a connection. They feel connected. Yeah, what kind of community exactly do we want you to belong to? Well, we want you to belong to a community where people treat each other well. They treat each other with respect. They treat each other with fairness. A community where nobody's left out. I always say that when you have something like this, a school like this, and a place like this, you have an opportunity to create something special. And wouldn't it be lovely if in life we could rely on the fact that everybody was going to treat everybody else well, fairly, and with respect? Well, we can start with our lives, and then hopefully, like the ripples in a pond, it'll go out and positively affect other people. So we want. How are we going to achieve that, though? You could well ask me. Well, the first thing you have to do is be interested in other people. You have to give them your time. Just even if it's as short as a hello and a how are you, right? That little engagement can just make all the difference. And sometimes it's way more powerful than you could ever imagine. And if you, as the senior end of the school, think of it as an opportunity to inspire these youngsters, that we have this aspiration that we will be one school, more than ever we'll be one school. We won't be a senior school and a junior school, and a kindergarten will be one school. So the idea, you don't know how powerful it is when someone in grade 10, 11 or 12 says hi to one of the little kids, or asks them how they're doing, or has a little chat with them, right? So that's a gift that you can give them. So by giving them your time, giving them your ear, listening to what they've got to say, that's how you find out about people. Being curious, ask them questions, where they're from, what they like, what they don't like. And then gradually you find out things about them, and sometimes, it's just fascinating. We may well have a session in here where in advance I get people to share something that's pretty neat and interesting about their lives that everybody else would not know. And never doubt for a second that in this chapel there are there are hundreds of great stories. So you have to be curious to bring those stories out. Right? And then share your other gifts, right? The gift of courage is one that there's a word that's been talked about a lot in the last 6 months, and quite rightly, right? Because we've all needed to summon courage to deal with the uncertainty. So share your courage with other people, especially when it comes to choosing the less comfortable path, right? The comfortable path is just to stick with the comfort of this. These are my friends. These 3 people over here are my friends, and I just stick with them. I don't go over there and speak to that person who's on his own or on her own. That's the less comfortable thing to do, but in a wholesome community, that's the right thing to do. And that takes a little bit of courage to be prepared to make that sacrifice. So I'm sort of encouraging you to do that. I'm also encouraging you to be a positive force. You know, what kind of person do you like to be around? I think you like to be around people that are positive, right? So in being positive, choose your words well. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. In fact, that's maybe even another whole chapel service about choosing your words. Give you one tiny example about how words can convey a different message. So if Dr. Martin Luther King had said, "I have a list of measurable objectives," would his speech have had anywhere near the impact that it had when he said, "I have a dream"? Right? So suddenly everybody is inspired. They listen. So choose your words well. And always remember that the analogy of the toothpaste. So when something comes out of your mouth, it's out. The toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube, right? You can't get it back. So be careful with the words that you use. I'm going to tell you one little story that I've told before. It's about changing your words. You can look it up actually on YouTube. Look at me, YouTube. So there's a blind man sitting, and he's got a little scruffy sort of cardboard sign, and it says, "I'm blind, please help." And it's all speeded up. You just see the footsteps, the feet walking past. Nothing much is going into his cap that he's collecting coins in. I usually add in that this actually takes place in Scotland, which is kind of hardly surprising that nothing's going in the cap, but that's a whole other story for another day. So then you see a very nice pair of green leather shoes, shiny patent leather shoes coming up, and the person stops, and it's a woman, and she bends down, picks up the sign, turns it over, takes out a pen, and scrawls on the sign, and then puts it down. Then it speeds up, and you see all sorts of money going into the cap. And the guy, of course, is amazed, the blind man. So later in the day, the same green, shiny patent leather shoes come back, and he feels them, and he recognizes them, and he says, what did you do with my sign? Because you can't believe it, right? And she says, "I just changed your words." And then you see the sign, and it says, "It's a beautiful day, but I can't see it." So that's a way more powerful way of expressing it. And that, for me, has always been a perfect example of the power of words. So if you're interested in actually seeing that, just punch in "blind man YouTube." You'll probably find it. So I'm back to connection, right? I want to connect back to Miss Denny, right? She said back in 1934, and I just found this was lovely. She said, "For our chapel is really beautiful, and already it has a dignity and a hush of its own. I'll repeat that. For our chapel is really beautiful, and already it has a dignity and a hush of its own. So, I'm urging you, let's honour those words. Let's preserve that dignity and work on that dignity in the weeks and months ahead. And that hush, dare I say it, except when we're singing with gusto. We can forego the hush then. If we do that, people, chapel will again become what it was meant to be by our founders, the real soul of the school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. So I'd like to add my thanks to you all as a congregation for your body language and attention that you gave throughout this morning. It can have a huge impact on others, the way you carry yourself, your eye contact, the way you hold your head, and I think that it's not always easy to maintain that level of concentration. So thank you so much. I thought it was an excellent start today. I mentioned that to the grade 8s and 9s as well on Tuesday. I was just really, really impressed by that. So thank you so much. I'm thankful for all of you who are looking up and saying hello as you move around the campus. I'm seeing lots of interactions in the hallways and in the classrooms and things too. So please keep that going. I'm really grateful to all of you who are adhering to the new cell phone policy. I know that might be a bit of a shift, or that might be a bit of a challenge for some of you, but again, I'm really appreciative of those efforts. I'd also just like to take a moment to be thoughtful for all of those in our community. It might be friends, it might be relatives, anyone that we might know who's struggling or in discomfort of any kind at the moment. And we're about to conclude with another opportunity to sing. But before we do that, I just want to mention that at the end, if we could just remain standing, and Evan will lead out with Mr. Robertson. He may feel the need at some stage just to say something at the end, but otherwise they'll lead us out, and we'll also filter out from now. But once again, thanks so much for this morning. I thought it was an excellent start to chapel. So we have to sing the school song, obviously. So that's hymn number 2. Please stand.